Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
Wednesday's winter storm is the main thing we're tracking this morning, and it's now over land in Washington state. I'll show you what we expect and when we expect to learn more about it coming up.
And while he's doing that, we're following this winter weather preparation. The DOT has brine trucks hitting the road. Where that could impact your morning drive, we'll take you to it. Plus, summer camp bookings. Registration is open today for some Raleigh summer camps. What you need to know about childcare after the school year. And that's definitely something you don't want to procrastinate with, right? Hey, thanks so much for waking up with us this morning on WRAL News and Fox 50. I am Chris Levingood. We already heard Chris mention it, right? We've got that winter storm that's expected on Wednesday today. He's giving you a preview right now.
Yeah, let's look through some of the timing on this, and we're going to start you out with tomorrow evening around 8 o'clock, and we're dry. So tomorrow you don't have to worry about anything. After about 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday is when we start to see that mixed bag of precipitation, most of the snow north of I-40, and then farther south from Wake County southward is where you start to see that mix of sleet and freezing rain. It's going to impact travel Wednesday and more than likely Thursday as well. Our first look at the numbers coming up around midday, if not shortly after that today. A little breezy at times at the Whirligig Park in Wilson. A little bit of a wind chill, nothing crazy. Temperatures low to mid 30s this morning. In fact, Clinton, Goldsboro, Rocky Mount, Raleigh at 36, Roxborough down to 32. We were in the 60s at this point yesterday morning, so that is a big difference. Midday, plenty of sunshine, temperatures low 40s, highs in the upper 40s this afternoon. We'll give you a better look at the timeline and also where that fine line between snow and an icy mix is going to be. That's coming up shortly.
All right, Chris, keeping an eye on the big picture traffic-wise. This is I-540, US 64 business. It is light fare out there right now and plenty of sunshine for folks making their way around. But same side of town, I want to show you on the map here, coming in from Knightdale, Wendell, 87, that interchange right there as you pass 540 and get in. Coming on towards the belt line there, some slowdowns. This is a typical backup folks are used to, and also on the south side of Raleigh on the belt line there as well. 40 headed east right there, and 440. Just typical slowdowns right now. If you're about to head out the door there, 101.5 HD3 is the place to find us all across the triangle on the radio.
All right, thank you, Jeff. DOT crews are helping keep you safe on the road during the potential winter weather. WRAL's Laura Levine joins us live from the DOT maintenance yard. And Laura, they're laying down the brine today and tomorrow just to prepare.
It has certainly been a busy season for the NCDOT. These trucks here behind me have already been rolling out of this yard today to prep the roads for this system moving in. Last night, several brine trucks were seen on I-40 near Durham, preparing the roads for the potential of lingering snow and ice. According to our meteorologists, our chances of seeing a wintry mix and even some snow in some spots are growing. This will have an impact certainly on travel Wednesday and Thursday. This brine, of course, as we know, will help crews clear the roads more effectively, a very important precaution and step that crews take during this time. And as we continue to monitor the system moving into our viewing area, the NCDOT says for now they're really focusing on I-40 in Durham as well as Wake counties. They'll be prepping the roads today and tomorrow. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And weather in other parts of the country, that is affecting flights at RDU where you are looking live. Right now, we're seeing 19 delays and 12 cancellations, but be sure to check your airline before headed out to the airport this morning, just in case. And just a reminder, you can get the latest weather updates from our team of experienced meteorologists in the WRAL News app. Folks, it's free to download, and when you sign up for push notifications, we can send the most up-to-date information right there to your phone. New this morning, an ambulance was involved in a crash and overturned in Fayetteville. Representatives from Cape Fear Valley Health confirm one of their ambulances was in that crash at the intersection of Purdue Drive and Cardiff Drive. This is in Fayetteville around 9 o'clock yesterday. They say that there was no patient on board in the evening at the time, and the staff's injuries are non-life-threatening. We are working to learn more, including what led up to the crash and if any other cars were involved. Teachers in Wake County schools will get a digital panic button today, so it will be ready to use when students return to school tomorrow. It's called the WRAL app, and it launches today. Essentially, it allows staff to signal an emergency with the press of a button on their phone. Now, the thing is, staff members are not required to download the app, but even if they don't, they can still get notifications. Today is a teacher workday for Wake County Public Schools. Parents, just a heads up, it's never too early to start thinking about your summer plans. Registration is already open for Raleigh's summer camps. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from Optimist Park in Raleigh. And Kelsey, spots are likely to fill up pretty fast.
Yes, Chris, I'm just checking every 30 minutes and I see that dozens of camps have already been filled by now. But check out this screenshot from at 6:30 this morning. Whenever the registration first opened, I was in the queue and I was beyond number 500 in line. So Optimist Park here is one of the places that you can send your student this summer. The city will be doing staggered registration again this year. So camps have a designated day for signups today through Wednesday. Registration is first come, first serve. And today, more than a dozen camps have opened their registration, including Briar Creek, Durant, and Walnut Creek parks. Now, the city suggests that parents go ahead and make sure that they create an account before trying to sign their student up. They can do that through the city's website. But if you want more information about those designated days for registration, just head to our website, WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
Emergency teams in Kentucky are working to help people trapped by rising floodwaters. What you're seeing here is video from the city of Hazard. That's about 2 hours from Lexington. At least 9 people have died, according to Kentucky's governor. Leaders there are warning the number of people killed will likely go up. President Donald Trump approved a request for disaster relief funding for Kentucky. Governor Josh Stein is deploying swiftwater rescue teams from North Carolina to Kentucky. He says, quote, neighbors showing up for each other is the North Carolina way. Kentucky was here for us during Helene, and now it's our turn to return the favor, end quote. Storms that hit our area damaged several buildings, and that includes Flying Iron Harley-Davidson in Rocky Mount. The wind, I should say, was so powerful, the entire front facade of the building was torn off, and that happened before the dealership opened yesterday morning. Now, nothing inside the building was damaged. We caught up with an employee who heard this all happen.
It was huge relief because we could have easily been outside, maybe moving bikes around, anything like that. So it is a blessing to all of us that everybody stayed safe. Nobody got hit with debris. None of the windows got crashed in, which is beautiful.
Now, despite the damage, Flying Iron Harley-Davidson managed to stay open for business the entire day, and it will reopen this week with its regular hours. The storm also shattered windows of 2 patient rooms at Cape Fear Valley Medical Center. The hospital says a cover that was part of the HVAC system came off from the wind. It hit those windows on the 7th floor, and one of the rooms was occupied at the time, but the patient inside was not injured. Thank goodness. Today is President's Day, and that may affect your routine. Most major banks are closed today, as well as federal and state government offices. There will be no trading on Wall Street. No mail will be delivered from the U.S. Postal Service, so keep it in mind if you're headed out to the post office. Your time is 8:08. FAA firings, hundreds of federal aviation employees sent home. How this will affect the air traffic controller shortage. Plus, fewer cattle, higher prices. Hear an economist's take on why we are seeing the lowest farm cow population in 70 years.
And currently, winter weather alerts stretching from Washington state to West Virginia, and we'll likely have those as well ahead of Wednesday. Coming up, I'll give you the rough timeline and also where I expect the line between snow and ice to be. That's in a few minutes.
Getting you a live look outside at the downtown Cary Park this morning. Got clear skies, blue skies, in fact. They're a little cloud coverage. As you're watching WRAL News, available on Hulu and the WRAL app on your TV or your streaming device. You probably see this camera and you're thinking, oh man, looks like a warm day outside. Don't you feel ridiculous, because it is actually quite cold outside. Deceptive sunshine, Chris.
It is, yeah. It's playing a game with us here this Monday morning, but definitely not going to be sunshine Wednesday, at which point we'll track our next winter storm. That's going to arrive mid to late morning from the southwest, and it's roughly a 9 to 12 hour event. Most of the snow we see north of I-40, more mixing south of that, regardless an impact to travel likely. Let's walk you through the timeline, and then we'll localize things a little bit. Here's 8 p.m. tomorrow. We're dry. It's really 8 a.m. onward Wednesday that we start to see that mixed bag of precipitation moving in. And you'll notice as we go throughout the day, basically Raleigh northward is where we expect most of the snow. And then south of that point is where sleet and freezing rain mixes in. That continues off and on into the afternoon and evening. I'd say after 10 p.m. Wednesday is when most of this is out of here. Pay close attention to the map here in the blue. That's where we expect mostly snow. It could be a couple inches or more, especially as you get toward the Virginia state line. South of that point is where you could see a little bit of snow in parts of Wake and maybe Nash counties, but then sleet and freezing rain cutting into some of our totals, and that'll continue down into parts of Cumberland and Sampson counties. So in terms of our impacts, again, travel looks to be the main thing. Some power outages will be possible, parts of Johnston and Wayne counties where we expect more ice. This morning in Zebulon, it's cold, it's breezy, temperatures in the 30s. Will be in the low 40s by midday and then eventually reaching the upper 40s by the afternoon. Roxborough 48, Fayetteville at about 52, Goldsboro 50, and Raleigh at 49. Then overnight temperatures about 25 to 30 degrees, but we're nice and dry heading into first thing tomorrow morning. 52 the high tomorrow, so this is really kind of the proverbial calm before the storm. Wednesday is pretty likely going to be a WRAL weather alert day because of the winter storm moving through. Precipitation's out of here by Thursday, but I would expect some leftover impacts, especially to the roads, at least Thursday morning. Then we're cold and dry heading into the weekend. That's a check your forecast. Let's get to Jeff Hogan with a check of traffic in the Live Center.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Got a crash that is holding things up coming in from the Wendell-Knightdale area. I-87 Hodge Road, that is a spot. We've been keeping an eye on it for about the last half hour or so. It has turned out that there is a crash there that is causing some delays. As you see here, the backups, not too terrible. It is normal congestion plus that crash. It's moved off to the side as far as we know so far. So traffic is getting through there. But Neuse River Parkway, that area, as you make your way westbound on 87 coming in towards 440, coming in towards the Beltline right there, you're going to be held up significant delays right there. So I'm going to keep a closer eye on that when I come back and visit you and just kind of monitor that because it has grown over the last little bit of time here.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Members of the Trump administration are in Saudi Arabia, and they're beginning peace talks with Russia to end the war in Ukraine. Yesterday, President Trump revealed his team spent hours speaking with Russian President Vladimir Putin. The president said Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will be involved in the negotiations. U.S. officials have said that the White House wants to host separate meetings before bringing Russia and Ukraine together. White House National Security Advisor Mike Waltz says the goal is to find a permanent and a diplomatic end to this war. Israeli President Benjamin Netanyahu says his country's security leadership will discuss the ceasefire deal with Hamas, specifically the second phase of that deal. Netanyahu implied he is moving ahead with Trump's proposal to transfer the Palestinian population from Gaza. He called it, quote, the only viable plan to enable a different future for the region. He discussed the plan with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He kicked off a Middle East visit by endorsing Israel's war aims in Gaza. A shipment of heavy bombs from the United States arrived in Israel, and the Trump administration lifted a hold that was on the deliveries. It rolled back a Biden-era policy meant to have leverage on Israel during its war in Gaza. Biden restricted the bomb delivery because of concern that they could be used aimlessly in heavily populated areas of Gaza. The Trump administration started firing hundreds of probationary FAA employees, and those employees maintain critical air traffic control infrastructure, according to their union. Now, it's unclear the exact number of people fired, but leaders say several hundred workers started getting notices on Friday. Less than 3 weeks ago, you recall that mid-air collision over D.C. killed 67 people. Well, that crash highlighted shortages of air traffic controllers and FAA infrastructure issues. An engine fire at an air show in Texas put an elderly man in the hospital. A plane involved in the WBCA Stars and Stripes Air Show Spectacular caught fire while in the air. The pilot was able to land safely, and we have heard that a man in his 70s was taken to the hospital in critical condition, but it's unclear if that man was the pilot or how the fire started. A proposal to dissolve the U.S. Department of Education would affect North Carolina schools, colleges, and students, too. President Trump says he wants to close the department now. Some members of Congress have even signed onto bills that would start that process. North Carolina receives billions of federal dollars for K-12 schools and for aid and loans for college students. The department provides money for students with disabilities and for schools with high proportions of low-income children, among other things. But what happens to that money and those programs depends on how the Department of Education is dissolved. You can learn more about what we have learned about this in the education section of WRAL.com. Hundreds of people across the country protested Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency, a non-governmental agency that he leads. Demonstrators gathered all across the country in cities such as Boston, New York, and Palo Alto to voice their concerns. Some question the authority the Trump administration has given to Musk in a newly created department.
They're not just looking for efficiency, they're looking to destroy. And I think if this was happening to a private company or if this was happening to other people's property, there would be outrage.
In response to the rally in Boston, the Massachusetts Republican Party issued a statement. It says Democrats have little to cheer about from the Biden administration and no failures to acknowledge with the current one. Dozens of people gathered in New York City to call for the state's governor to remove Mayor Eric Adams from office. That's because Adams was recently accused of asking the Trump administration to drop his corruption case. In exchange, he would enforce the president's anti-immigrant agenda. Mayor Adams says that he would allow federal immigration authorities back into Rikers Island jail, and that is a big change in the city's sanctuary policies. His announcement came on the same day U.S. Attorney Danielle Sassoon resigned from her position. She claims the Justice Department pressured her to drop criminal charges against Adams. There's growing concerns about a measles outbreak making its way across the nation. Cases are now being reported in 6 states. In West Texas, confirmed cases went from 24 to 49 in a week. 13 children have been hospitalized so far, but many people aren't getting tested. Health leaders believe the true number of measles cases is as high as 200 to 300. And with peak flu season here, getting the right amount of sleep could be essential to staying healthy. Doctors say that missing sleep does not allow the immune system to work at its full capacity. Aside from catching a cold, chronic insomnia can increase the risk of developing conditions such as diabetes and even heart disease. Doctor and sleep specialist Nancy Foldery suggests that attention to any sleep issues and bringing them up to your doctor is key.
And if you have symptoms related to your sleep, for example, snoring, or you're excessively sleepy during the day for no clear reasons, talk to your doctor. And because you may need a sleep study or be evaluated by a sleep expert.
Yeah, definitely get a sleep study if you can. I had to get one for sleep apnea. It is crucial. Dr. Foldery says that an undiagnosed sleep disorder could be an issue for some, and she says addressing it is key to maintaining your overall health. The number of cows on farms in the United States, it's dropping as prices for beef remain high. Ted Linder spoke to one economist who shares what is causing the decline and how it's affecting you, the consumer.
Cattle numbers in the U.S. have dropped to its lowest in about 70 years, as the Department of Agriculture reports a 2% decrease in January from the previous year.
It declined again to about 87 million head in total.
Texas A&M professor and economist David Anderson says weather conditions across the country are to blame.
Cattle production starts with grasses and pastures and out on the range, and when we have a drought, there's no grass. And so we end up with fewer cows.
The drop in cattle inventory is causing higher prices for beef, which are starting to catch up to costs for calves.
We've gone through a series of years with low calf prices and higher costs. And so really that combination of low prices and high costs means, we start reducing the number of cows.
With beef prices reaching record highs already this year, Anderson expects it'll eventually lead to ranchers expanding their herds to help offset the costs.
We're all kind of waiting for that expansion phase to start because, record high prices are a market signal to start expanding. As long as the weather cooperates and rain falls and grass grows, then we can really begin to expand.
Even as numbers decline, Anderson says beef production is on the rise.
One of the things that's going on is the industry is just much more productive and much more efficient, and we're producing more and more beef per cow.
Anderson also says demand for beef remains strong in the U.S.
Consumer demand has been what we would characterize as been pretty good. Even in the face of high prices, folks continue to buy beef.
That was Ted Linder reporting. As egg prices keep climbing, the Trump administration's leaders say they have a new plan to combat bird flu. For a long time, the U.S. has dealt with avian flu by eradicating sick birds. Well, a new plan involves medication that would avoid killing the chickens. The strategy comes as the virus has been reportedly spreading to other types of animals. Leaders behind this plan say more specifics should be ready by next week. Nearly 2.5 million cases of Made Good brand granola bars are being recalled. The company voluntarily recalled them because of possible metal contamination. The company says the metal could be from a small flat brush bristle used in the manufacturing process. Made Good says that it will refund any products on the recall list. New allegations have come out about inappropriate behavior from longtime Ravens kicker Justin Tucker. 7 more massage therapists have come forward with claims of sexual experiences with the NFL player. That brings the total to 16 therapists who have spoken out about Tucker's behavior dating back to 2012. Tucker has denied those allegations. Shakira is hospitalized with an abdominal condition. The singer canceled her concert in Lima, Peru yesterday, and she wrote on social media that her doctors told her she is in no condition to perform. Peru was the second stop on her Latin American tour, following 2 nights in Brazil last week. In her statement, Shakira says that she hopes that she can recover and recover soon. Your time is 8:23. Deadly weekend storms. We are taking you to Kentucky, where search and rescue efforts to find survivors are underway. Plus, safety in schools, the new panic button available for teachers and staff, and what we know about its rollout in Wake County this week.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Hey, good morning. Time is 8:26. I am Chris Lovingood. We do want to get you started with your weather forecast with Chris Michaels.
And of course, looking ahead to Wednesday when we've got that winter storm moving into North Carolina, significant impacts, especially to travel. Most of the snow that we see could be a few inches near into the north of I-40. And then south of that is where we see more of that mix of sleet and freezing rain. Enjoy this for the time being. Sunshine over Apex and temperatures in the mid-30s. Hour by hour throughout your President's Day, midday temperatures in the low 40s, highs in the upper 40s today. We'll have a closer hour by hour outlook for Wednesday's storm over on Fox 50.
There's a crash on I-87 southbound near Hodge Road, and you can see it on the map here. If you're coming in from Wendell or Knightdale, you're going to have a problem with this heading inbound towards Raleigh. Trying to get to the belt line is going to slow you down a little bit. This is what it looks like if you're in that inbound lane there. Plenty of backups. There's a crash on the right side. One lane is closed, not expected to reopen for about another hour or so. I'll keep an eye on it.
All right, thank you, Jeff. DOT trucks are preparing the roads for yet another winter system. Our chances of seeing a wintry mix and even snow in some spots are kind of growing. NCDOT tells us for now, trucks will coat I-40 in Wake and Durham counties, and they'll be out spraying the roads today and tomorrow, too. Just a heads up, parents, the city of Raleigh is having staggered registration for summer camp for kids this year. Today, more than a dozen camps open for registration. For a full list of camp registration days, you can, of course, go to our website, WRAL.com. We'll let you know also when it's full. Next on Fox 50, what we're expecting as Durham's mayor prepares to address the city tonight. Plus, ahead on today, Angela Bassett on the new political thriller, 0 Day. We'll have that more in a check on traffic and weather in just a second on Fox 50.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
This morning, winter weather alerts extending from Washington State all the way to West Virginia with the next storm that brings snow and a mix to our area. I'll show you where that fine line should be coming up.
Preparing the roads. We are giving you a look at how teams are making sure you have a safe drive during what could become a WRAL weather alert day. Plus a bittersweet reunion. Now that Chapel Hill native Keith Siegel is free from Hamas captivity, hear from his sister and the bravery her brother had while held hostage. Thank you so much for waking up with us here Monday, your President's Day on WRAL News and Fox 50. I am Chris Lovingood. So outside, it's cold, and the thing is, today will not be the only day for it. So we'll give you a preview of his full forecast. Chris Michaels is here to get you started.
Hey there. Yes, so starting out looking at Wednesday, of course, everybody tuning into that, and we appreciate you doing so. Wednesday, winter storm is likely, and I say significant, especially in terms of travel. Now, most of the snow that we expect, potentially a few inches north of I-40. Farther south you go is where we start to get into that whole game of sleet and freezing rain. So that's something we'll watch for closely. The orange is where we expect what the National Weather Service is calling moderate impacts, especially with regards to snow. And you notice that's from about Raleigh northward. And then farther south of that is where we expect more ice to mix in, potentially some power outages right around here. That's something we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on. And our first call numbers likely coming out mid midday, if not early this afternoon. Zebulon's looking good. It's just cold out there. Temperatures now 30 degrees colder than we were at this point yesterday. That cold front was strong. Thankfully, we're not as windy today. Breezy, sure, mostly sunny. High temperatures in the upper 40s. I'll show you the latest with Futurecast regarding Wednesday coming up in just a bit.
Also keeping a close eye on this crash, a one-lane closed I-87 southbound coming in from Wendell, Knightdale. That's going to be your problem spot. But some good news. I'm seeing it start to loosen up just a little bit right now. So those backups are becoming a little less than what we had. Raleigh 911 not reporting any injuries out of this crash, but one lane block and a vehicle there is what's causing this problem. So they're not supposed to get that out of the way completely and open that lane for another hour or so. But it's obviously making some progress because that is not the backup that we saw just a little while ago. Checking out another area there out in that direction, I-540 US 64 business near there, not having any residual delays of folks trying to get around that spot.
All right, thank you, Jeff. DOT teams are hitting the roads this morning ahead of the potential winter weather we're seeing this week. WRAL's Laura Levine explains the plan for laying down brine on roads and bridges, too.
It has certainly been a busy season for the NCDOT. These trucks here have already been rolling out of the yard behind me, hitting the roads and prepping them for this winter system moving in. Last night, several brine trucks were seen on I-40 near Durham, preparing the roads for the potential of lingering snow and ice. According to our meteorologists, our chances of seeing a wintry mix and even some snow in some spots are growing. This will have an impact certainly on travel Wednesday and Thursday. This brine, of course, as we know, will help crews clear the roads more effectively, a very important precaution and step that crews take during this time. And as we continue to monitor the system moving into our viewing area, the NCDOT says for now they're really focusing on I-40 in Durham as well as Wake counties. They'll be prepping the roads today and tomorrow. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And you know the weather in other parts of the country, it's affecting flights at RDU where you're looking live. Now, fortunately, for the first time this morning, we're actually seeing delays go down. Right now, we're seeing 18 delays down from 19, so slight improvement, and 12 cancellations. Be sure to check with your airline before heading out to the airport this morning. That way you make sure you catch anything you need to know before you leave. And you can get the latest weather updates from our team of experienced meteorologists in the WRAL News app. That is free to download. And folks, when you sign up for the push notifications, we can send you the most up-to-date information straight to your phone. Parents, just a heads up, starting today, you can sign up your child for one of Raleigh's summer camps. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us live from Optimist Park in Raleigh, and registration opened at 6:30 this morning, Kelsey.
Yes, Chris, and dozens of camps are already full. If you check out this screenshot here, you can see that this is what it looked like at 6:30 this morning. There were more than 500 people in the queue waiting, so dozens of spots are already filled, and we do know that there are going to be a lot of wait lists as well. So the city of Raleigh is doing staggered registration again this year. Camps have a designated day for signups today through Wednesday. Registration is on a first-come, first-served basis. And today, more than a dozen camps have opened their registration, including Briar Creek, Durant, and Walnut Creek parks. The city is suggesting that parents go ahead and sign up for a RecLink account before even trying to get a spot for their students' registration. So if you want more information on the process, just go to our website, WRAL.com. Kelsey Coffey, WRAL News, live in Raleigh.
People will be cleaning up storm damage in the Triangle today. Powerful winds brought down trees on roads and power lines, too. More than 50,000 customers lost power for part of the day. Wind speed gusts of up to 60 miles per hour were experienced in Raleigh and Fayetteville. At least 9 people have died because of storms in Kentucky, and leaders there warn that number of deaths will likely go up as rescue teams search for people trapped by floodwaters. A teenager driver was stuck in floodwater for about quite some time in Louisville, and he says he couldn't tell how deep the water was in the dark on Saturday night, but he did manage to escape, and he's alive to tell his story.
I'm glad I got stuck and nothing severe happened to me because I do not want to end up dead. I'm glad I got stuck and I made it out with my cousin.
President Donald Trump approved Kentucky's emergency declaration, and he authorized Homeland Security and FEMA to coordinate all disaster relief efforts. Cleanup is happening in the nation's capital this morning, and they're recovering from that same high wind storm that we saw hit our area. Those strong gusts brought down trees, damaging property, and knocking power out lines there, too. The area is now preparing for snow to move in later this week. Teachers in Wake County schools will get access to a digital panic button today. It'll be ready to use when students return to school tomorrow. It's called the WRAL app. It launches today, and it allows staff to signal an emergency with the press of a button on their smartphones. Staff members are not required to download the app, but even if they don't, they can still get notifications. Today is a teacher workday for Wake County Public Schools. And today is President's Day, and that may affect your routine. Most major banks are closed today, as well as federal and state government offices. There will be no trading on Wall Street, and no mail will be delivered from the Postal Service. Apex Mayor Jacques Gilbert plans to talk with the town manager today about utility bills, specifically ensuring the town is providing proactive communication about the bills. Gilbert says that he has heard from many residents about unusually high utility bills in the past few days. You'll remember in July, a cyber attack hit the town's billing system. The town hired a third-party review team to look at the system. Some residents received double bills after that attack, and the independent review is expected to be completed sometime in March. Durham Mayor Leonardo Williams will present his second State of the City address tomorrow. Williams says that he will outline his key objectives and priorities for the city this year. The address begins at 7 p.m. That is at the Carolina Theater. The event is free and open to the public. You can also watch it on the city's YouTube channel beginning at 7. Family members of Israeli hostages being held in Gaza today gathered in Tel Aviv. They met to mark 500 days since the October 7, 2023 attack. Relatives gathered outside the American embassy, and that is where they called on President Donald Trump to help assure the release of all hostages as soon as possible. Family members of hostages Hamas murdered were given time to talk during that event. Hamas released 3 hostages on Saturday in the first phase of the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas. That ends in 2 weeks. Now, this morning, we're hearing from the sister of Keith Siegel. He's the Chapel Hill man released by Hamas just weeks ago. Siegel's sister, Lucy Siegel, lives in Durham, and she tells us that her brother spent more than 480 days as a hostage in Gaza. And during that time, she says Keith was able to push through the pain, the fear, the uncertainty by thinking about the loved ones he hoped to see again.
He said he would start with our mother, and he'd have a conversation. So primarily, these conversations were to himself in his head. Each day, throughout the day, that he would repeat to himself the day of the week, the month, the day of the month, and the year, over and over and over.
Keith and his wife Aviva are now living on the kibbutz in Israel, where Aviva moved following her release. Lucy says Keith hopes to return to North Carolina for a visit at some point. Your time is 8:39 this morning. No coverage for Helene damage. The insurance troubles for people still recovering in western North Carolina, and you'll hear why most homes are not covered for that destruction. Plus, health impacts of relationships. The data showing relationship stress could lead to poor physical health. Now let's get you a live look over Apex this morning. Boy, that sunshine is nice, right? Well, it's cold out, and winter weather is on the way. Meteorologist Chris Michaels has that forecast in just a bit. A bright day in Durham this morning. A little overcast skies there, but today it's a cold one today. Definitely feels like winter outside, though, Chris, I like it when February doesn't feel like February. It's a little nicer when it's warmer out, but that's not the case this week.
Yeah, it feels like winter. It'll look like it, especially Wednesday. Next storm coming in pretty much mid to late morning is when it starts. Most of the snow that we expect could be a few inches near and to the north of I-40, and then south of that is where we see that icy mix. Where that line develops, I'm telling you guys, it literally comes down to 1 degree just above our heads. If it's 33 degrees, that's where you get that mix of sleet and freezing rain. But if it's 32 just above, you see snow. So that's why there's going to be that dividing line. And right now we think that's around Interstate 40. And again, most of the accumulation after 8 or 9 a.m. will be north of that point. However, south of that point, you're far from out of the woods because that's where you see sleet and freezing rain, especially Wake County southward is where we see the chance for that accumulating. Disruptions to travel likely into Thursday. Now, in terms of power outages, those start to go up when you get about 1/4 of an inch of ice ice or more. And right now I see that being in a line from about Wilson and Smithfield farther to the south. Our first numbers go on the map either midday today or as we head into the early afternoon. It'll give you plenty of lead time ahead of Wednesday's storm. In the meantime, the numbers we're seeing right now, temperature-wise, mostly 34 to 38, mostly sunny with a few of those clouds, as Chris was just showing you. Hour by hour, your dog walking forecast. Midday, we're in the low 40s, and afternoon highs today, upper 40s to near 50 degrees. So cooler than yesterday. Cold, calm, and dry heading into tomorrow morning. Temperatures, they'll be in the mid to upper 20s. Let's go ahead and check out the 7-day forecast. Tomorrow, we make it into the low 50s, and then by Wednesday, this is likely going to be a WRAL weather alert day. We're having that conversation as we speak due to the winter storm that's coming through. Precipitation's mostly out of here Thursday, but we're still going to have the leftover impacts and cleanup as we go through the latter part of the week. It'll be cold and dry heading through Friday with highs back in the 40s heading into the upcoming weekend.
Southbound I-87 remains the trouble spot we are keeping a close eye on this morning. So if you're coming in from Wendell or Knightdale into Raleigh, that is going to be your spot. You see it on the map here. Although things have loosened up just a little bit, it's a non-injury crash that has closed a lane there. Not supposed to be completely clear for about another hour from now, but traffic is able to get through there on the lower part of the Beltline. Before I get to that, I'm going to show you a picture of that 87 Knightdale. This is right around Neuse River Parkway, inside 540. And this is a picture just a couple minutes old that you see there, what's happening there. I'm going to take you back to the big map because I want to show you the 40 westbound right there as you're taking, or eastbound, I should say, as you're taking a look here. This is an injury crash that Raleigh 911 has told us about here, but I checked some of the cameras in that area and there's no backups there. It's showing a little bit of red. It's cleared off to the side, so folks are getting through there. One other look, as you can see, Sunshine, I-40, Jones Sausage Road there. All in all, for President's Day this weekend, a little bit of a light commute for us today and not too many trouble spots out there.
That's good to hear. Thanks, Jeff. In Wayne County, 2 turkey houses were significantly damaged during storms. That's according to the National Weather Service. A roof was completely pulled away and then landed on top of a vehicle. This happened in the Racetrack Road area of LaGrange. At least 18 people were killed during a stampede at the main railway station in New Delhi, India. Police there say that the overcrowding continued just after the stampede yesterday. Passengers could be seen pushing into a train and then hanging from railings as the train departed, all while security worked to manage the congestion from people there. The stampede happened as passengers were waiting to board trains to travel to a religious festival, and dozens of other people were injured because of that stampede. Meanwhile, stateside, dozens of people in Tennessee were rescued from floodwaters. What you're seeing here are photos taken in Clarksville over the weekend. This is near the Kentucky state line. Widespread rain totals of 3 to 5 inches fell across the Ohio and Tennessee valleys, and some locations saw more than 6 inches of rain. 5 on Your Side is taking on the problems plaguing western North Carolina. This week, Keely Arthur will take you to Buncombe, Yancey, Mitchell, and McDowell counties. She surveyed Hurricane Helene damage and helped when she could. One of the biggest problems for people, insurance coverage. Only 3% of people in the region had flood coverage. And now many homeowners are fighting with their insurance companies over exactly what caused the destruction: wind, which is covered in most policies, or water.
Helene is one of the most difficult storms that I've ever looked at in terms of determining, flood versus wind.
Dead right that way.
5 on Your Side is stepping in to help one family in their fight against an insurance denial, which is why tonight at 6, Keely will break down their case and then share crucial steps for anyone facing an insurance dispute. That's just the first in a week of special reports from Western North Carolina. Studies show maintaining positive relationships is a key factor in human longevity, but Ted Linder reports adding stress to a relationship that could reverse effects.
Stress is often linked to health concerns like anxiety, insomnia, and fatigue, but it could also cause the same issues in others around you.
Our stress affects our own health and our partner's health. Couples who manage stress poorly and are hostile toward one another, they have higher inflammation, stress hormones, and blood pressure.
Rosie Shrout, a professor at Purdue University, says relationship stress should be considered a public health priority because of its potential risks.
Distressed spouses not only have an increased risk for divorce, but also for disease development and early mortality.
Shrout says the hormone called cortisol is responsible for the body's stress response, which can lead to health issues if it remains high.
People with stressed partners who use negative behaviors during conflict had higher cortisol levels even 4 hours after the conflict ended. These findings suggest that arguing with a stressed partner could have lasting biological health effects for ourselves.
For couples in a stressful relationship, Shroud says the first step is to talk things out.
The key here is how you talk to each other and how you listen to each other. Share how you're feeling using I statements and talk about the little things before they escalate.
Helping each other with daily tasks is another way to potentially lower stress.
A few ideas might include running an errand or cooking dinner for your partner when you can tell they're stressed, reminiscing and relaxing together, or trying a new restaurant or recipe together.
Pope Francis is still recovering from his bout with bronchitis. The Pope is at a hospital in Rome, and the Vatican says the Pope is pulling back from some of his duties, including leading certain prayers. His bronchitis diagnosis is the latest in a series of illnesses. Those have led to increased concerns about his health at 88 years old. Bachelorette star Katie Thurston says she is ready to fight after receiving a breast cancer diagnosis. The 34-year-old announced her diagnosis on social media over the weekend. She says that she was diagnosed with cancer 2 weeks prior, and she says she has experienced a range of emotions. Thurston was a contestant on season 25 of The Bachelor and the star of The Bachelorette's 17th season.
67th Daytona 500 got off to a rocky start because of weather and a rocky ending. Everybody always talks about the big one, and this is it. The big, giant crash at the end. Look at Ryan Preece in that 60 car flipping upside down. This ended late on Fox 50 last night, in case you missed it. Now I want to show you the video of race day and how they got started, because that's how they ended, with a giant crash there. Delayed because of storms for several hours. Once they got it cleared and got back on the track, flag waved, and William Byron drove away with the victory. He was in 9th place when that crash happened, by the way, and he avoided all the carnage and was able to make that final lap work out for him. President Donald Trump also making an appearance there, by the way. He led the motorcade there for a couple of laps to get the race started.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Marvel's latest hero movie, Captain America: Brave New World, dominated the domestic box office this weekend. The film earned $88.5 million in ticket sales, and the studio expects it to hit $100 million domestically and $192 million by the end of the day. Now, the film secured the biggest opening weekend this year so far, and it is the first of 3 Marvel movies set to release in 2025. Another big weekend for movie awards, with ceremonies held on both sides of the Atlantic. David Daniel brings us up to speed in today's Hollywood Minute.
There is one sin which I have come to fear above all others: certainty. If there was only certainty and no doubt, there would be no mystery.
Conclave won Best Film honors at the BAFTA Awards, often a precursor to the Oscars. The Vatican thriller received 4 awards from the British Academy, as did The Brutalist, including Best Actor for Adrian Brody and Best Director for Brady Corbet.
Your parents are gonna kill you.
I love my husband.
You do not know this guy.
We are consenting adults.
If you think this is gonna be allowed, you're dead wrong.
Do not touch me.
A Nora star, Mikey Madison, beat out Demi Moore of The Substance for Best Actress at BAFTA, and the Writers Guild of America honored the film as well, giving Sean Baker its Original Screenplay Award. The WGA's Adapted Screenplay Trophy went to Ramel Ross for Nickel Boys. Both films are nominated in the same screenplay categories at the Academy Awards, which take place March 2nd. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
We will have a check on traffic and weather in just a bit, but before we go to break, we do want to make sure that we give you your winning lottery numbers.